Loch Venecher means Loch of the Vare Valley. On the hillsides along the loch, many years ago, the trees were planted in unusual geometric patterns. The head forester had planted them to the battle line formations at Quatre Bras in the Crimean War. Nestling in the middle of this forest, near the head of the loch, stands Trossachs House, where Queen Victoria spent a summer season in 1869. It used to be called Drunkie House, after a nearby loch, but this didn't seem a fitting name for a royal residence, so it was changed. Brigge Turk, the name means Bridge of the Boar, and was given to commemorate the conclusion of a famous hunt, in which a Buchanan, who was a famed huntsman, tracked and killed a wild boar which was ravaging the area. This village is where Millais painted his famous portrait of Ruskin, and then proceeded to have an affair with Ruskin's wife, which became one of the greatest scandals in the history of British art. A short detour up Glen Finglas runs past a most peculiar object, the iron-eating tree. In the late 1920s, the local blacksmith gave up business and, when clearing out his workshop, threw bits and pieces into the neighbouring field. Some of these landed on a sapling sycamore tree, which grew up with everything embedded in the trunk. So today you'll see bicycle handlebars, an anchor and other pieces protruding from the tree. Trossachs, incidentally, means bristly country. We pass a picturesque church in a most beautiful setting, and around a bend, Timor suddenly appears. Built in 1849, the same year as the church, this was the first purpose-built hotel in the area. The Trossachs Hotel, as it became known, was one of the most photographed buildings in Scotland. It's now a self-catering holiday complex and the Scottish home of the Holiday Property Bond. Behind Timor is Benan, a smallish mountain but one of the most rewarding climb, as the views from the top are superb. It can be claimed that tourism in the Highlands of Scotland began in the Trossachs. In 1850, a young Thomas Cook was entrusted with the first large package tour in Scotland. The plan was to go from Glasgow to Stirling, Loch Katrine and Loch Lomond and back all in one day. With over 100 tourists in the group, this was an enormous achievement. The rest, as they say, is history. Now his name is synonymous with holidays worldwide. Loch Katrine is reckoned by many to be amongst the most beautiful of all Scottish lochs. Nearly 10 miles long and over 500 foot deep, the loch holds 14 billion gallons of some of the purest water in the world. Of this, nearly 100 million gallons are supplied to Glasgow every day of the year. At the loch's Trossachs Pier, you will find the SS Sir Walter Scott, the last screw-driven steamship in service on Scotland's inland waters. The vessel is a working part of the nation's heritage and a lasting tribute to the skills of her builders. Built in 1899, it was launched in October in readiness for the season of the new millennium of 1900. A century on, and a major refurbishment has just been completed to equip her for her second millennium, which was funded by a new charitable trust established recently to ensure the continuation of this iconic tourist destination for future generations. As well as classic steamship cruises, a solar-powered boat is due in the 2010 season, whilst the Lady of the Lake offers panoramic trips in addition to the Sir Walter Scott. The Anchor's Rest offers lochside dining as well as snacks and drinks, whilst the Katrine Cafe offers fresh Italian ice cream, teas, coffees and takeaway snacks. Katrine Wheels offers bikes and electric buggy hire to enjoy the private road that runs alongside the loch, which is also the perfect setting for a walk and a picnic. Also on site is Katrine Gifts, with a well-chosen range of Scottish crafts, books and gifts. Few people realise that one of the most famous songs ever written had its humble beginnings in the Trossachs. When Sir Walter Scott wrote his great narrative poem, The Lady of the Lake, he interspersed the action with songs. Schubert took 7 of these songs and set them to music in 1825. This famous song, based on the heroine's prayer, was Ave Maria. Another, Hail to the Chief, celebrates the arrival of a MacGregor chief being rowed down Loch Katrine by his clansmen. Once adapted by Schubert, it became the unofficial American anthem, played to announce the arrival or in recognition of the president. From Loch Katrine, the road passes Ben Venue, the craggiest of the Trossachs mountains. The road climbs over the Duke's Pass, some 800 foot at its highest point, built in 1820 by the Duke of Montrose to cope with the huge influx of tourists. With a toll house at either end, it was the last toll road to close in Scotland in 1936. Halfway across the pass lies the remains of Scotland's third largest slate quarry. The Queen Elizabeth Forest Park, which covers a huge 50,000 acres, was formed when the Forestry Commission purchased Achray Estates and the quarry was closed. The Achray Forest Drive offers 7.5 miles of forest road through beautiful scenery. The Queen Elizabeth Forest Park Visitor Centre is set amid spectacular scenery. It offers information, disabled access, shop, cafe, exhibition, picnic areas, and Go Ape, a high wire adventure course, and is also the ideal starting point for walks, orienteering and cycling. Still better known by its former name, the David Marshall Lodge, it was gifted to the Forestry Commission in 1960 by the Carnegie Trust.